So we are going to start our Keith Haring color wheels, and I want you to remember that a basic color wheel has 6 colors. So you've got the 3 primaries and the 3 secondaries. So we need to space out 6 spots for our Keith Haring figures. So find the middle of your paper-ish. Okay, you're gonna find the top part, bottom part, and just like make a dot there, okay? Then we need to add 2 more on each side, so you kind of have to eyeball it. There's no way to exactly measure it without a ruler. Even with a ruler, I'm not sure of the exact measurements, so we're just gonna eyeball it. And these dots will serve as where we're going to place our figures for our color wheel. So we've gone through how to draw the Keith Haring figures. So I want you to think about which figures you want to use. And you can kind of use a combination of different figures. So if you want to do the people dancing, you could do different poses around your color wheel. If you want to do the radiant baby could be just like crawling around the color wheel. Same thing for the dog. You can get creative with this. I wouldn't just do the heart by itself. You could do the person holding the heart if you wanted to, or you can incorporate that somehow. Decide on your figures, and I think I'm going to have mine be the dancing people in different poses. So we've talked about that, how to draw that. You may need to go back to your practice and look at it, but I'm going to put on a time lapse for my drawing of that. So I've got my first figure drawn, and I'm gonna do my second thing here. Maybe I could do a heart and incorporate all the different symbols, but I'm gonna leave it up to you for what you do. I'm gonna do all the symbols, but consider how much room you have, like as you're working your way around, because I was going to draw the figure one way and I changed my mind to draw it a different way so that he fit onto the page. So I made it into one of the ones where they look like they're jumping or they're just dancing. So keep that in mind as you're working on yours, but I'm gonna keep working on mine on a time lapse. So I am ready to color mine, and I'm gonna use markers because I want mine to be nice and bright like Keith Haring's artwork was. So you can choose, markers would be really great for this, just again, so you have the really bright colors. So we need to think about our color wheel and having things in color order. I know you're probably thinking, Ms. Johnson, why are you not Sharpieing first? I'm going to use a black Crayola marker after. You may have noticed this using Crayola markers, but if you do black Crayola marker and then color yellow next to it, it doesn't end well. So I'm gonna do that last, but I need to make sure that all my lines are the way that I want them to. So like I need to get rid of that area right there, but I'll do that before I start to color. So we need to think about the order. So you'll have red, orange, and you can start your color wheel wherever you want. I'm just starting at the top. Yellow, green, blue, and purple. Okay, you can use like this might be a better blue to use. Yeah, there we go. So fill in each thing first with color, then go back and trace, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. And just keep in mind, if you are using markers, you can use the marker on its side instead of coloring using the very top of the marker, because you can see that that's like skinnier. It makes a skinny line. So I would color having the flat part on the side to fill in my areas faster. That's just one tip, so I can show you an example. Let me move these out of the way. For this one, it has a chisel tip for the marker, but same thing. If I was going to try to color using the very top of it, that's going to take me a long time, and it's probably not going to look as good. It's not going to look as neat. So I'm going to use it on the side where it's flat. And I almost use it more like a highlighter rather than scribbling to fill in. So just use it flat on the side. And I first outline it, turning my paper as I go. Making sure the outline looks the way I want it to. And then I can go back and fill in. Again, using the side of it. I really don't just like scribble back and forth with my markers, because that just totally ruins them and destroys them. So it seems like I'm being really nitpicky about it, but it really will save the lifespan of your markers, and it'll make your work look neater. And we're always trying to have good craftsmanship, which means your work looks neat, looks like you took your time. So we're always aiming for that. All right, so that one is done. And I'll come back at the very end to do the black outlines with the black marker. So I'm gonna do a time lapse, and you make sure you take your time. Just a little marker tip for you. If you are using a yellow marker and you notice something like black marker or just graphite from your pencil gets in it, it's fine, but you don't want to continue to use that on your paper. So I'll just take a little scratch sheet of paper and try to mark it out to where it's not going to get on my drawing. Just an optional thing. So now it's time to trace, and if all you have is Sharpie and crayon, you wanted to definitely trace before you color, but when you have the Crayola markers or Mr. Sketch or whatever you have, those are water-based, so when you draw into them with another water-based marker, it reactivates it and then it starts to smear. So long story short, if you're sharpieing and doing crayon or colored pencil, Sharpie first. If you're doing marker for the whole thing, do the color and then the black, because you won't see if red reactivates with the black. You won't see it because it's black. So I wanted to use these because they have the thick lines rather than a Sharpie, which has really a thin tip to it. I wanted these thick the thick lines that Keith Haring has in his artwork. So if you were just using a Sharpie, you would probably just go like around it twice. But this will allow me just to go around it once. So let me just show you what I mean. I'm gonna try to completely cover my pencil marks because you can still see them. So I'm gonna cover those. I go slow and I turn my paper as I work. Okay, and then same thing for these lines. Careful not to draw any of the lines into any of your other figures. So stop a little short right there. And I want to go in between into some of the shorter lines. That's looking so good. Okay, and if you are using a regular Crayola marker, like I said, you would just use it on its side. So instead of doing the lines like this, you'll just turn it onto its side and do the lines like that. So that they're thick like the outlines of Keith Haring's drawings and paintings, like that. And not every single figure has to have the radiating lines or the motion lines. Like the barking dog doesn't have any lines, and that's okay. But I'm going to put on a time lapse so we're not watching me do this for quite so long. But make sure you really take your time because obviously you can't go back and erase this. So my Keith Haring inspired color wheel is finished, and I think I want to fully complete it by signing on the front. Keith Haring usually signs his stuff down here at the bottom, so that's what I'm going to do. And now you're done.